G'day folks. So Meta, you know the artist formerly known as Facebook, reckons it's gonna save us from misinformation and deepfakes ahead of the 2025 Aussie federal election. Yep, the same mob that brought you your uncle's endless conspiracy memes now promises to crack down on fake news just in time for the election. How good is that, eh? So today we're taking a cheeky squiz at Meta's big announcement. They're talking a big game about fact-checking AI-generated content, but are they full of it? So grab your Tim Tams and a cuppa, let's dive in. This should be a good one. Make sure to like and subscribe. Welcome to the Dirt Report. I'm TechManPat. Let's roll the intro. Alright, first up, Meta's public stats. They put out a blog post complete with corporate buzzwords saying they'll detect and remove false content and deepfakes in Australia ahead of the election. And according to Cheryl Cito, Meta's head of policy down under, anything that could incite violence or mess with your vote will be removed, and other misleading content will have its reach curtailed. Oh, curtailed, the big word for we'll hide it so fewer people will see it. When independent fact checkers debunk something, Meta says it'll slap on a warning label and downrank that post so it's less likely to be seen. And supposedly they've roped in the AFP, not the one you're thinking of. It's actually the Agence France Presse and the AAP, Australian Associated Press journos, as their fact-checking sidekicks. So theoretically, if some dodgy meme claims koalas are secretly running the AEC, the AFP and AAP will fact-check him. Meta will label it false and the post will get buried in your feed. Meta is even telling users to disclose when they share AI-generated images or videos. Imagine that! Self-reporting. Please tick this box if you're about to post a deepfake. I am so sure the trolls will get it right on that. And Meta insists it's super serious about deepfakes. I'm serial. What was that South Park episode? Anyway, they claim any AI fakery that breaks the rules will be taken down or at least marked as altered and demoted. Cito even said we'll still believe it's important for people to know when photorealistic content they're seeing has been created using AI. No objections there. I mean, we'd all like to know if that video of elbow wrestling a croc is real or cooked up by some uni student on their gaming PC their parents bought. Now, Meta's plan sounds noble. Warning labels, reduced reach, more transparency. They're basically saying, don't worry mates, we've got your back. We'll sort the fact from fiction on Facebook and Instagram. So they're now the ones who tell you what's true or not. Well, at least the deepfakes anyway. Now at this point, you might be thinking, hang on, haven't we heard this before? And you'd be right. Meta always talks the talk about fighting misinformation, but do they walk the walk? Their current fact-checking and moderation system are, how do I put this politely, a few sandwiches short of a picnic. Sure, they have these policies, but the effectiveness is quite questionable. Remember the 2019 election? There was this infamous death tax, which is right here. It was obviously fake news, a totally false claim that Labour had a secret death tax plan, which went viral on Facebook. And I'm sure you can mention many other viral Facebook posts that went crazy and people were thinking it was the truth. The Labour Party begged Facebook to take it down. And Facebook basically shrugged and said, not our job to play censor. They refused to remove it and it kept spreading during the campaign. Top marks, Facebook. I mean, fair enough, right? It is not their job to censor things. Now, eventually it was debunked, but the damage was done. Australian democracy may have been vulnerable to misinformation because of this nonsense, but technically speaking, Facebook didn't care, I suppose. And that's just, I guess, one example. COVID conspiracies, 5G microchip yarns, and you name it. Plenty have slipped through what Meta calls moderation. Often by the time a post gets fact-checked and labeled, it's already been shared to every man and his dog. Those little false information warning labels are about as effective as a band-aid on a broken leg. The content still gets around. Meta says it reduces distribution, but let's be real. A juicy lie travels fast and fact-checkers can't be everywhere at once. Here in Oz, Meta's relying on just 2 fact-checking group orgs to cover an entire country's worth of Facebook memes. That's like trying to stop a bushfire with a garden hose. Good luck keeping that up. What about Meta's overall commitment? Fun fact, Meta actually scrapped its fact-checking program in the US earlier this year. Yep, in January, Mark Zuckerberg decided to end the whole third-party fact-checker deal, at least in the States, and pivoted to something called community notes, basically crowdsourced fact-checking similar to Elon's Twitter approach. Zuck went on record complaining the governments and media were pushing for more content moderation and called it clearly political. In other words, he caved into the new political landscape and said, nah, we're over this fact-checking thing. Ironically, now Meta is touting the exact same fact-checking strategy here in Australia as they ditched in America. So color me skeptical. If fact checkers were not worth our time in the US, why are they suddenly the heroes in Australia? Perhaps Zach and co think we need extra help, or maybe they're just trying to keep our regulators off their back. As one analyst snarked, Meta is using these clearly political media outlets for fact checks in every country except the one where the boss got heat from a certain president. The timing of this announcement is the chef's kiss. It's perfect. We've got a federal election due by May 2025, so just weeks away. Meta's suddenly shouting from the rooftops about anti-misinformation crusades. Coincident? I think not. It's a classic move. Big tech likes to roll out their PR campaigns right before the election to say, hey, look, we're doing something. Mostly so that if and when things go pear-shaped, they can call and say, well, we tried. To be fair, Meta did similar stuff before in past elections. I do recall Facebook teaming up with the AAP to fight misinformation with some ad campaign a few years back, and obviously now history repeats. Also, considering that our governments have been breathing down the necks of social media companies about misinformation, they even floated laws to fine platforms that failed to curb fake news up to 5% of global revenue as a penalty. That proposal was eventually dropped late last year, couldn't get through the Senate, but it sure sent a message. What kind of message? Meta really doesn't want to be hit with that kind of regulation. So, of course, they're making a show of, oh, we'll police ourselves, no worries. It's a preemptive strike to keep the government off their case. See, we're good corporate citizens. They promise. Now, obviously, there's a fine line between misinformation and other very bad content, so you kind of have to work with them, but they have obviously the tools to catch a lot of this stuff anyway. Let's not forget the opinion polls are tight. This election might be a close one between Albo's mob and Dutton's nuclear ambitions of not even having enough water to cool the reactors. So the stakes are high. If a flood of misinformation or nasty deepfakes swing a few marginal seats, either way, remember, this isn't particularly about one side. People will lose it. They'll blame Meta, and Meta knows that they're going to get roasted on their platform if they're seen as tilting the vote one way or the other. So yeah, the timing is as much about PR and CYA, cover your ass, as it is about genuinely helping voters. We're basically seeing Meta in a please trust us mode, trying to get ahead of any scandals. So forgive me for not clapping just yet. But deepfakes are the new boogeyman. One thing Meta specifically hyped was a crackdown on deepfakes. Those AI-generated videos that look real. This is a hot topic because, let's face it, deepfakes can be scary convincing, and Meta says it will remove deepfakes that violate policies or label them as altered and bury them in the feeds. They're also nudging users to flag or disclose AI content as mentioned, but nobody's going to self-police. Wait a minute, how is Facebook going to self-police? Anyway, that sounds great on paper, but how effective will this really be? Yeah, nobody really knows. Consider this, detecting a well-made deepfake is extremely hard. It was difficult like 5 years ago. Today, it's easier to make and looks much better. Even experts are struggling. A recent study by Aussie and Korean researchers found that none of the tested deepfake detection systems could reliably spot deepfakes in the wild. Major vulnerabilities in all 16 systems tested. That they were easily fooled. If an algorithm can't consistently catch a deepfake, I'm not entirely sure Meta's moderators or fact checkers will catch them quickly enough either. Even community notes will struggle. There just won't be enough people to verify it. It may end up being a game of whack-a-mole where the mole is basically invisible until it's already caused chaos. Let me give you a real example. Maybe you've seen this one. Late last year, a deepfake scam video did the rounds on Facebook and Instagram. And it was a bit of a doozy. It was designed to look like a current affairs interview with Treasurer Jim Chalmers, and business bigwigs Dick Smith, Andrew Forrest, and Gina Reinhardt. In the fake video, these well-known Aussies appeared to endorse some investment scheme, and it was a lip-synced video, and the voices were kind of well done, I guess. Of course, it was utter bollocks, a scam, but heaps of people fell for it until Dick Smith himself came out and said, "Oi, this is fraudulent. Don't buy it." And that's the first time he's ever said that. Here's the kicker. The scammers paid Meta to promote the deepfake video as an advertisement. They spent about $7,000 to push it up to 100,000 Australians. That's right, Meta profited off a deepfake scam. It slipped right past their ad review and content moderation. Oh, surprise. And by the time it was taken down, after the media coverage and the public outcry, and of course Dick Smith coming to the rescue, thousands had seen it. If Meta's AI filter and human reviewers couldn't catch this blatant fake interview featuring the Treasurer of Australia, how confident are you they'll catch something more subtle? And deepfakes aren't just used for scams. They can be weaponized for politics, of course. Imagine a last-minute video drop of a candidate saying or doing something they never did. It could spread like wildfire just as the polls open, and by the time anyone realizes it's fake, the damage has been done. Meta's promising to prevent this scenario, but I reckon we'll believe it when we see it. At least they say they're on high alert. They claim this approach worked in other countries. Recent elections like India, the UK, the US, though the US might beg to differ, the Chaos 2020, and all the Stop the Steal malarkey that flooded social media. But for now, I'd advise if you see a video of Peter Dutton and Gina Reinhardt breakdancing in a tutu, maybe double check it before you share it, though it's not as unbelievable. Well, Meta's mighty systems won't catch that one either. At the end of the day, what are the implications for us, the Australian voters, and our electoral integrity? Well, Meta's moves could be a double-edged sword. On one hand, if they actually enforce these policies well, it might reduce the amount of garbage we all see and share. Fewer people will stumble on a fake story or a deep fake and take it as gospel. That could mean less confusion about who said what, less spreading of outright lies, and maybe healthier information space during the election. In an ideal world, Meta's efforts could help voters focus on real issues and facts, rather than being distracted or deceived by misinformation. It might also deter some bad actors from even trying if they know Meta is on the lookout, though I suspect the truly determined trolls will find a way. The fact that Meta is also running a media literacy campaign with the AAP to teach people how to critically assess online content is a positive step, but it kind of explains what we're dealing with, right? Now, I'm all for Aussies shaping their own bullshit detectors. Community notes could work really well. On the other hand, and here's the cynical take, look, Meta drops the ball, the consequences could be pretty serious. We could see lies influencing opinions or even votes. Deepfakes could smear a candidate right before polling day, and if Meta's too slow to react, the correction might come too late. And misinformation can erode trust in the whole electoral process, not just Facebook. People might start doubting legitimate news as fake and believe fake news are real, and a total inversion of reality. And the AEC already runs a disinformation register to debunk common myths, which tells you something. This problem is expected to happen, Meta or no Meta. It's a bit scary that our democracy partially hinges on what a private company decides to allow or block on its platform. Like, do we really want Facebook to be the arbiter of truth? Not particularly, but they're in that position whether we like it or not. That's the problem. So if they fail, our election discourse could become a hot mess. For the average Aussie user, the best approach is to stay vigilant. Enjoy your memes and political banter, but I guess keep a skeptical eye out. If something seems too outrageous or too perfectly scandalous, it might well be fake. It usually is. Check reliable news outsources, which I don't even want to get into that, but just use your noodle. Meta's finally trying to act responsibly, or at least appear to, but we've all got to practice some personal hygiene. Responsibility too. Media literacy is the name of the game. Like, if someone shares a post claiming one party will ban coffee if elected, maybe we take to the streets and we take them down. Yeah, let's not start a riot because of that. So there you have it. Meta's grand plan to curb misinformation and deepfakes in Oz, served with a side of sarcasm. Will it work? Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. They talk a big game every election, and yet somehow fake news always finds a way, like the Jurassic Park's water drop chaos theory. On the plus side, at least Meta acknowledges the problem and doesn't just go full off, hands off, looking at you, other platforms. But whether this is a genuine effort or just a PR stunt timed for the election, that's for you to decide. Personally, I'd say keep the pressure on them. If you spot nonsense on Facebook, report it. If you see your mate sharing a clearly fake story, gently call it out, or not so gently, that's up to you. In 2025, we shouldn't be losing elections to lies. In a perfect world. Now, Meta promises to be the knight in shining armor for truth online. Crikey, that's a bit rich, coming from the folks who monetized misinformation for years. But hey, miracles do happen. Maybe this time they'll surprise us and really clean up the joint, and maybe pigs will fly. At the end of the day, democracy in Australia will rely on informed voters, so let's do our part to stay informed and hold these tech giants accountable to theirs. So Meta, if you're listening, good on you for the announcement, but we'll be watching to see if you deliver. No more excuses, as Aussies might say, put up or shut up. In the meantime, folks, think before you click share, but share this video, keep an eye out on those deepfakes, and don't let Facebook algorithms do the thinking for you. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in another one. I really appreciate you watching my analysis. Hit the like button, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye!